There's been a lot of talk about the big tech layoffs and what it really means. A lot of people are saying, "Oh, it's because of Scrum. It's because of Agile." Well, let's give you a little bit of a perception check here about what's going on, and I'm going to give you some examples. So let's give you some examples real quick. So when we talk about the big tech layoff, who are we talking about, and just how big is it? Well, Google announced layoffs that impacted 12,000 positions. Microsoft said by cutting 5% of their staff, they reduced from 221,000 to 211,000. Meta laid off 11,000 employees, or 13% of its workforce. And then finally, Spotify laid off 1,500 workers, or 17% of their staff. Question: does this have strictly everything to do with Agile? Does it have to do with downsizing? What exactly is it? So, I'm going to give you the top three reasons why big organizations are doing layoffs. And I think that some of this is going to be no surprise, and other parts of it are going to be a little bit shocking. So let's get into it and let's talk about it. So the number one reason organizations are doing layoffs. Are you ready for this? The remote worker honeymoon is over. There, I said it. All of you who've been working from home, here's my message. So I shouldn't say all, 95% of you. Here we go. So prior to this little thing called COVID, everyone was expected to go into the office 5 days a week. They were monitored and measured, and their productivity was there, and things were good, and everyone was happy, earning an honest salary and honest wage. People were getting work done. You had your coworkers, you had the ability to get things done, and everything was good. Introduce COVID, and now we had to revolutionize a new way of working. And part of that included some people's ability or inability to work from home. So, working from home at first was a great thing. People wanted to do an exceptional job. People wanted to go above and beyond to continue to have this dream of working from home, continue to last. Because heaven forbid, someone would ever say, "Hey, we had to come back in the office." In fact, I heard many people say, "Oh, I'll be working at home. I'll be working from home forever." And then reality started to strike. So as people were working from home, people are like, "Oh, well, I'm working from home. So if I want to take the dog for a walk, that means I can. If the kids get up and I want to go do something with them, I can. I'll never miss another baseball game, softball game, piano recital, whatever. I'll never miss another doctor or dentist appointment. If we have to run a Costco during the day, I can." And it was all well and good because people were still doing the work. However, here's what was discovered. I call it the homeschooling principle. People who homeschool their children will understand this quite well. Most children can get the full day's worth of assignments done in 2 to 3 hours. They can get it done really quick. The same is true for an average worker in a workday. You can get most of your stuff done really quick if you just sit and focus and apply yourself. The problem is, with all the interruptions and all the madness going on around these people, that didn't happen. So what was happening instead is people were allowing distractions to creep in, and an actual task that would take 2 hours or 1 hour to do. I had people complaining working from home. "Oh, we're working 14-hour days and I'm not getting anything done. I'm working in the morning all day. And then when the kids get home, I spend a little bit of time with them, not work in the evening. And then once my wife goes to bed, I work some more." And I'm hearing these complaints and I'm saying to myself, this shouldn't take that much time. Your productivity is being impacted because you're being distracted. So, the number one reason why organizations are laying off so many people is because people are becoming less productive. There, I said it. What's interesting is if you take a look at the companies that have brought people back to the office, and we'll pick on some of Elon Musk's companies, for example, whether you choose Twitter, Tesla, X, choose your poison, the people who've gone back to the office have been dramatically more productive. I know that at Twitter, specifically X, when it was announced that they needed to come back to the office, there was a huge rash of people who said, "You can't do that. We'll all quit." And he lost up to 85% of the workforce. But here, get this. When he lost that much of the workforce, productivity increased by 9%. What I'm trying to say is that if people can dedicate, I'm not saying you have to spend all day in an office. I want to be clear. But what I am saying is that there are some people who work from home who are incredibly productive. They do a fantastic job and they need to keep working from home. There, I said it. But most of the people who are working from home don't know how. They're not accustomed to it. They're not used to being home with their family, especially in a summer with kids being home. They're not used to what to do. It's like the office mentality of I've got things to do has gone away. And they're constantly being bombarded with distractions, whether it's music or television or things they can't experience in the office. So what's happening is it's taking average 2-day, 1-day jobs and turning them into 1 week, 2 week, 2 months jobs. And organizations just can't handle that lack of productivity. So that's a huge part of the layoffs. Let's go to number two. Number two is going to be the one that doesn't surprise anyone. AI is coming for our jobs. How many times do I hear people say that, right? The truth is, how about this? AI is going to change the way that we work, period. I think that it's going to cause us to have to redefine roles and redefine accountabilities and redefine the way people work. The traditional model of, oh, I'm just going to do this and that's all I do. Well, if AI can do it in a third at a time or a tenth at a time, you're going to need to find things to do with the remainder of your time that are productive, right? And I think that this is another one of the big things. So these companies are starting to lean in on people who know how to use AI and how to write prompts to help them simplify what they're doing at work, to help them streamline what they're doing at work, not necessarily to reveal all the company secrets, but you can just use AI as a productivity tool and increase your productivity dramatically. So if I was in an organization and I had to choose between someone who would come to the office 3 days a week for 4 hours, who knew AI and could be just as productive as someone who goes to the office every day, or choose someone who works from home that does not understand AI, that's 10% as productive as the person in the office, who am I going to choose? The person who's complaining about working 14 hours a day, who's not using AI to help their cause, or the person who is working 4 hours a day and being twice as productive as someone who's in the office every day? I think you know the answer there, right? So, what I'm saying is AI is revolutionizing the way people are doing work. And I think that's very, very, very important. And I touched on a third one, but I'm going to go ahead and spike it home right here. This is my mic drop. The actual roles and accountabilities of people who are doing their jobs are in dramatic shift mode right now. We heard about companies like Capital One who laid off all their Scrum Masters. Well, they went back and hired Agile project managers. What's the difference? Well, now that Scrum Master also has some project management accountability. So, where am I going with this? It's pretty simple. I think that organizations are starting to reinvent roles. And now that COVID, and I'm knocking on wood here, it's hopefully in our rearview mirror for the most part. People are still getting it, but it's not nearly as prevalent as it was before. I think that what we're seeing is something that, and you could go back to the web, when the web was introduced, when the World Wide Web was introduced, you're starting to see a revolution of technology, or an evolution/revolution of technology. And what's happening is organizations are needing to reinvent how people do their work, who they need to get the work done, and are starting to reinvent what the team structure looks like. And I think that right now we're in what's called the great experiment. There was a quote from Capital One. It said, "The agile role in our tech organization was critical to the early transformation phases. But as our organization has matured, the next natural step is to integrate agile delivery processes directly into our core engineering practices." That is a huge quote. So, what that's saying is what everybody else already knows. So, if you've ever taken one of my classes before, I often talk about the four phases of Agile. You have ideation, then you have discovery, and then you have delivery. 95% and then the final one is release. Sorry, I forgot to say that. 95% of organizations who say they're doing Agile, we're doing the Agile, are all focused on Agile delivery. They're not focused on the other pieces. And as a result, this exact quote makes perfect sense, because if all you're doing is focus on Agile delivery, well, that's where all the development takes place. And that's where you need to turn that part over directly to the engineers and integrate it as core engineering practice so you can get things done. But it doesn't discount the need for ideation, where you're validating good ideas to make sure they're good ideas. And it's a small investment, but it's worth it. Discovery, where you're spending a little more money, or even release, how you're going to get your product or service to market. So I think what we're starting to see is that it's symptomatic. As more organizations are looking at delivery and saying, we need Agile outside of delivery, they are saying, do we need Agile at all? Which is a great question and a valid concern. So when you're looking for the big tech companies doing big layoffs and you're seeing that starting to impact, especially some of their agile implementations, ask yourself, where do I stand on those three things? Where does the company stand on those three things? And how do I sell myself into a position that may not even exist? That's going to do it. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you have a question or concern, learn more at agiledad.com. We'd love to hear from you. As always, we encourage you to stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile, my friends. Until next time, do take care.